In 1829, a young Frenchwoman known as Simone Jules arrived in the U.S. and took the name Eleanor Dumont. During the gold rushes, she bounced around mining towns, set up a table in saloons, and became a professional card shark. In San Francisco, she was known as Madame Moustache, and poker veterans respected how she protected the cash. Born Myra Maybell, Shirley Belle Starr lived in a part of the country where the frontier meant loose law. Among ranchers, settlers, native people, and outlaws, she learned early how to handle a horse, a gun, and gossip. When she got involved with gangs in Indian territory, she became a name feared by marshals and remembered by those who hate betrayal and settling scores. Etta Place is one of those mysteries that leaves historians scratching their heads. Before the Wild Bunch, there's hardly any reliable trace. After that, she shows up alongside Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. She could ride, keep a secret, and disappear at just the right time. People say she crossed borders like she had a plan the posse never understood. At the end of the 19th century, Jenny Rogers saw that the night was also an economy. In boomtowns full of miners and cowboys with fast money, she opened houses of pleasure and managed every detail: security, drinks, accounts, house rules, and deals with the law. She knew when to pay the sheriff's fee and when to say no, keeping things in order and the till full. Josephine Sarah Marcus, born in 1860, left behind what people expected from a woman and chose the road. With Wyatt Earp, she went through the pressure cooker of Tombstone, where local politics and gunfights went hand in hand near the OK Corral. She kept versions not every book tells and showed how loyalty can get expensive in the West. In Texas in 1876, Laura Bullion grew up in a West of dust and weak law. While still young, she fell into the orbit of the Wild Bunch, with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Between getaways through canyons and stops at cheap boarding houses, she helped keep the gang standing when the money came from bank and train jobs. Saddle ready, aim true, and ice-cold nerves. Mattie Silks, born in Missouri in 1848, learned early how the West worked. Where there were miners and soldiers, there was money and risk. She became a madam and businesswoman, setting up houses and partnerships along routes that ran from Kansas City to Albuquerque and all the way to San Francisco. She played hardball, demanded respect, and knew how to protect her own business. Elizabeth Cochran, who the public came to know as Nellie Bly, was born in 1864 and became a reporter when that wasn't women's work. She disguised herself, went where nobody wanted to look, and wrote what the powerful tried to hide. From the asylum to going around the world, she showed that real journalism makes people uncomfortable and changes the conversation. Pauline Cushman used the stage as a weapon during the Civil War. A well-known actress, she worked her way into Confederate circles with easy talk and sharp ears, passing messages to the Union. When the game turned, she was arrested and came within a step of being hanged. She survived and became a symbol of how intelligence can be worth just as much as gunpowder. Pearl Hart, born in 1871, became famous when she decided to rob a stagecoach at the end of the Old West in a holdup that sounded like something out of a movie. The manhunt spread fast among sheriffs and federal agents until she was caught in New Mexico. In court, the press packed the room, and the case turned into a debate about crime, survival, and rebellion. In the late 19th century, Rose Elizabeth Dunn grew up in the Oklahoma Panhandle and ended up on the radar of outlaws tied to the Wild Bunch. She rode with George Bitter Creek Newcomb, and picked up the nickname Rose of Cimarron. With wanted posters everywhere and the telegraph running hot, her saddle and her aim became her pass to make it out alive. In cattle towns in Kansas and Texas, Libby Thompson started at rock bottom and quickly learned how the frontier worked. Later on, already known as Squirrel Tooth Alice, she opened a house and a saloon in Sweetwater and became the one calling the shots. In a world of marked cards, she made money and earned respect without asking anyone for favors. Susan Anderson became known for not backing down on the dusty streets of the West. Instead of following the script people expected from her, she traveled as a scout, reading trails and danger, and took the side of the weaker ones. When she joined an outlaw gang, it was to take on corrupt big shots and bring help where the government didn't reach. Born Phoebe Ann Moses, the future Annie Oakley learned early that food came from her own aim. In 1875, still a teenager, she faced champion Frank E. Butler in a shooting match and didn't miss a single target, 25 out of 25. The story spread from Ohio to the frontier, and she became a symbol of a straight shooter in Wild West shows. Elizabeth Baby Doe McCourt arrived in Colorado on the wave of silver and, in Leadville, crossed paths with Horace Tabor, the big-shot tycoon of the moment. The romance wrecked reputations. He left his wife and married Baby Doe in 1882. From luxury to hard days at the matchless mine, she became a living picture of how boom and bust could change a life. In the Old West, Calamity Jane became saloon talk because she could shoot like few others, without depending on anyone. Her steady aim opened doors in a man's world and made a lot of them drop their heads in respect. People said she rode as a scout and a nurse in hard times and still shared food and clothes with anyone who was hurting. Around 1880, Emma Lillis Quigley looked like a proper lady on the frontier until a public record exposed what she really did at the brothel. Instead of being ruined, the town got curious, business took off, and she turned the scandal into advertising, making money and taking control of her own game. Kate Horney, who folks called Big Nose Kate, crossed paths with Doc Holliday in a dusty Kansas town. What started turned into an intense partnership, a fight in the street, a makeup in the bedroom, always with risk close by. Between gambling, drinking, and the cough that wouldn't leave Doc, she became the anchor when the law started tightening. Ann Bassett, Queen Anne, was running her life on the range when Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid started messing with cattle and really challenging sheriffs in the area. Instead of hiding, she chose to negotiate and ride along, reading the power map on the trails. That put her on the radar of big ranchers and lawmen. In Wyoming, Ellen Watson bought land in Johnson County and built a cattle operation in a hard country. She ran the ranch with brains and work, something you rarely saw in a woman back then, and that stirred up the interests of the cattle barons. In the tense days of the Johnson County War, a fight over fences and grazing turned into a dangerous case. In the 1850s, on the trail west, Olive Oatman and her younger sister, Mary Ann, were taken by a native group. Later, among the Mojave, Olive got the chin tattoo, learned to talk with the folks there, and got good at weaving baskets their way. When she showed up again among white people, the mark became talk in every town. In Reading, Pennsylvania, around 1892, portrait photographer William I. Goldman took photos for respectable families during the day and, at night, went into Sally Shearer's house. The women posed without smiling, showing clothes, tiredness, and the hard rules of an industrial city. He kept it all in albums, away from the folks' eyes. In late 19th century Texas, Mary Elizabeth Libby Haley Thompson became known as Squirrel Tooth Alice because of the gap in her teeth and the animals she raised, prairie dogs. After going through a kidnapping as a child, she ran a dance hall that was a brothel in Sweetwater without apologizing in a town of wind and dust.